Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. This is Discarding Malupit by Boss Neil. Yes guys, ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon guys tungkol sa SMNI presidential debate. Kung bakit umatras sila Leni, Isko, Pacquiao at saka si Lacson. Hindi dahil mas importante silang ginagawa, kundi natatakot sila guys. Kanino? Natatakot sila kay Clarita Carlos guys, ang galing-galing na profesor. Yes guys, ang galing, ang talino, ang galing talaga. At saka natatakot sila, maikukumpara sila kay Bongbong Marcos at sa iba pang katunggali nila. Alam mo guys, itong apat na ito guys ay talagang merong kanya-kanyang dahilan na mas importante pang mga schedule. Ito naman si Lacson ay meron ng kinikilingan na na kandidato kay Bongbong Marcos na. O di ba? Tingnan mo naman ang mga tanong. Wala namang kumikiling doon, 'di ba? O talagang natatakot lang siya kasi baka hindi siya makasagot-sagot sa mga sa mga tanong. At saka ito naman si Pacquiao, Isko. Ano bang kinalaman ni Kibuloy sa mga issue ng ng debate? Bakit sabihin ba? Paano yung issue niyo kay kay Kibuloy? Ang sabihin niya, takot lang siya, manginginig yung niya, puwet. Ito naman si Isko, meron daw schedule, sabihin palusot. Diba guys? Ito guys, panuorin natin yung mga interview ni yung tanong ni Clarita Carlos. Yes guys, panuorin natin yung video.
Nagbabalik ang SMNI Presidential Debate 2022. And for the first round, the candidates will be answering questions from the panelists. The first question will come from UP Professor Dr. Clarita Carlos. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer a panelist's question, and other candidates will have 60 seconds each for interpellation, and then 30 seconds for a rebuttal. And just as a reminder for our candidates, you have a timer here in the front, so you can be guided as to how much time you have left. Professor Carlos, your question, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the 4 presidential candidates who had both the political commitment and the political courage to be part of this conversation. My area of research and expertise is on foreign policy and defense and security, so my first question will be within the rubric of these issue areas. All right. If the Quad were to become a collective security alliance, you, as our country's chief architect of our foreign policy, are you going to make the Philippines as a member of the Quad? Why and why not?
Professor Carlos's question will be addressed to Secretary Norberto Gonzalez first.
Well, we will always be part of arrangements like that. And yes, it's important. Dapat lagi kasi may mga kasama tayo kung may mga hiharap tayo mga problema sa mundo. Kaya kailangan Kung may mga arrangements na ganyan, dapat pinapasok natin.
Secretary Gonzalez, if you have nothing to add, the other candidates may react to his answer. I think Secretary Ernie Abella.
Yes. The Philippines needs to retain an independent foreign policy, and in which case it needs to be able to dance between the two great powers. As we can maintain relationships with them, but not to join. However, because we need to be able to maintain that specific independent stance. We can relate with either one, the other one, but at the same time, we need to retain our independence and be able to sustain our own sovereignty. Thank you.
Yeah, but Mr. Abella, remember, you're still linked to the United States of America because of the Mutual Defense Treaty.
That's true.
So the Quad is composed of, well, so-called democracies. And so are you more leaning towards being part of the Quad or some other collective security arrangement?
It's not a question of leading more, but the question of being able to maintain both while maintaining a balance.
Yeah, I have a problem with the concept of independent because it's like you're sitting on the fence. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean to say that we need to be able to make our own stands and be able to make our own decisions without undue influence from anybody.
I don't know that being friends with everybody is foreign policy.
We're not being friends with anybody. We can have trade with the greater power, which is our neighbor. On the other hand, we can maintain MDTs with the people in Quad.
Yeah, well, the reason why, and this is for all the candidates, I asked this question is that right now I'm sure the big powers are trying to carve their own spheres of influence. And because we've always been within the sphere of influence of the United States of America, the Quad is simply an extension of this proposed collective security arrangement.
On the other hand, they will not always, we can always be sure that they will always stand for us.
Well, of course, nobody can answer that question, even if we ask Biden today, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Marcos?
Yes, I think any of these agreements we should, of course, encourage as long as it is very clear to us what is the advantage to the Philippines. What the professor just mentioned was she spoke about the great powers trying to carve out spheres of influence. I reject that model that I believe no longer applies in the geopolitics of the modern world. The old Cold War thinking. We have to ply our own way. And so it really would depend on what is inside, or what those agreements say that the Philippines, what will be doing and what those other partners of ours will be doing for the Philippines. And once again, because we shouldn't think of the old Cold War system, we should always think in terms of the fine line that the Philippines has to tread in all our foreign policy decisions.
But if Mr. Marcos, if you reject the concept of spheres of influence, does that mean you are going to scuttle the Mutual Defense Treaty when you become president of the Republic?
By no means.
Linked to the United States of America as a defense ally.
No, by no means. The relationship with the United States, our special relationship with the United States, is not something that we can treat, be cavalier about. It is a very important one. And it has stood us in good stead for over 100 years. And that, I think, will never disappear from the Philippine psyche, the idea and the memory of what the United States did for us and fought with us in the last war. And so that is a specific part of our foreign policy. But then as we approach, we know that we are a hot spot right now. The West Philippine Sea is a hot spot in geopolitics right now. And that is why we still have to find our own line. in terms of all of these arrangements. Except the one simple principle is that we will not cede 1 square inch of the Philippines to any country.
Karen, do I have time for one more follow-up with Mr. Marcos?
Yes, Professor Carlos.
Yeah. Okay, if that is the stance that you have taken, Mr. Marcos, suppose you have a situation where China is trying to, take us in, embrace us within its sphere of influence. How would you react as our chief architect of our foreign policy?
Once again, in terms of specifically to China, the correct approach still seems to be one of engagement. And no matter what the superpowers are trying to do, we have to work in the interest of the Philippines, and we cannot allow ourselves to be part of the foreign policy of any other country. And we have to have our own foreign policy. So again, whatever the superpowers do, we as a highly strategic geographic, are having a highly strategic geographical location in the world, really have to walk that very, very fine line between these great powers who, I always say, these are great powers, we are in between. If they sneeze at the same time, we disappear from the map. And that is something that we always have to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Calyodi, we'll hear from you.
Para sa akin talaga ay maiwasan yung lahat yung pakikipagkaisa dito sa mga malaking bansa sa daigdig na ang relasyon ay gagawin tayong parang pawn lang sa mga kanilang mga labanan. Ang aking naiisip talaga ay maging unaligned ang ating bansa sa mga malaking kapitalistang bansa sa daigdig, tapusin yung ating military agreement sa US, yung Mutual Defense Treaty, yung BFA, yung EDCA, at pati yung relasyon natin sa China na dihado tayo. Makipagkasundo lamang tayo doon sa mga bansa nagagalang sa ating mga karapatan, sa ating soberanya, sa ating territorial integrity, sa ating mga panuntunan.
Any follow-up questions, Professor Carlos?
Yeah, Mr. De Guzman, kung gusto ninyong non-aligned po tayo, ay saan po tayo tutukod? Alam niyo naman ng ating military yung pinakamahina sa buong ASEAN region. So, ito ba ay aspiration mo lang bilang chief executive, or is non-alignment, this is still something that will wash in international politics now?
Non-aligned tayo doon sa mga bansa na magagamit lamang tayo sa kanilang mga interes. Lalo na sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon ngayon na yung China halos at Amerika ay may trade war at nagigirian sila. Huwag na tayong makisangkot sa kanilang girian. Makipag-align tayo sa mga bansa na nagsusulong ng pagkakaisa, kapayapaan at economic ang mas focus ng pagkakaisa at pagtutulungan. At hindi yung papanig sa Amerika o sa China, lalo na sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea na siya ang mainit na usapin sa ngayon. Magagamit lamang tayong phone ng sino man sa kanila. Kaya dapat makipagkaisa tayo sa mga bansa dito sa Southeast Asia at tayo ay magtulungan para sa ikauunlad ng mamayan. Iwasan natin ang giyera.
Is there any rebuttal from our candidates? I can see Professor Carlos wanted to be part of the debate.
I'm sorry. I hope I'm not dominating the questions, Karen.
No,
you
it's
just
okay.
strike me down, if I need to shut out. Yeah.
Yes, we've budgeted the time. If there are no reactions from the candidates to each other's answers, we are allotting the additional time to follow-up questions from our
Can
panelists.
I just do one follow-up with Mr. De Guzman?
Of course.
Okay, well, I'm interested in the concept of non-alignment because, I don't know that It's like once upon a time we talked about that. So, sino hong mga bansa kaya ang ating, anong pangalan nila? Ang ating sasamahan? Dahil sinabi ninyo ay sasama tayo sa mga non-aligned countries because most countries have cast their lots with either the United States of America, with Russia, or with PROC. So, saan tayo? Diyan lang ba tayo nakaupo sa bakod?
Ang gusto natin ay hindi dependent, kundi isang independent foreign policy at makikipagkasundo tayo. Hindi naman tayo magpuputol, kundi makikipagkasundo tayo sa mga bansa na re-respeto doon sa ating sovereignty at territorial integrity. Mas ganon. At ang mas makakakapit natin sa kasalukuyan, lalo na sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea, ay itong mga Asian country. At yan ang ating makakakampi sa kasalukuyan. At hindi, ayaw ko talaga na pumanig sino sa kanila, sa Russia, sa China, na nagsusulong lang naman ng kanilang personal na interes at hindi sa interes ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng buong daigdig.
Salamat po.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See guys, nakita nyo guys, nakita nyo na kung anong diferensya sa mga interview ng mainstream media kaya ngayon sa debate. Guys, anong pagkakaiba? Alam mo guys, yung mga debate na walang kinikilingan, alam mo yun, yan yun guys, yung walang kinikilingan. Debating walang kinikilingan. Interview na walang kinikilingan. Yun guys. Ang SMN9. Diba guys? So, tingnan mo guys, yung si Clarita Carlos guys, si Professor Clarita Carlos guys. Napakagaling guys. Naku guys, kung sumali yan sila, guys, kung hindi nag-back out sila guys, si Leni Robredo guys, gumaganon-ganon na yun guys, impronto guys ha, impronto guys, walang kodigo, walang nakasulat, gaganon yun si Leni Robredo, tidilat-tilat guys, lulutang-lutang yun guys, hubag-hubagan si Leni Robredo guys, hubag-hubagan, pag human guys, luya guys, maluya guys, kumbaga, manghihinaya pagkatapos ng debate. Tapos tutubuan ng pigsa sa puwet guys. At saka bukol-bukol sa noo. Hindi niya kaya sagutin yung mga tanong na yan guys. Hindi nga niya kayang sagutin yung tinatanong niya, no? Ni Jessica Soho. Yung one word. Yung flag ng Amerika at China. Buti pa si Pacquiao. Pinakita yung flag ng Amerika, sabi ni Pacquiao. America. American flag. American flag talaga. Diba? Buti pa kayo Pacquiao, America. O, diba? Tama, America. Hindi. Kita mo ng American flag. American flag. Pagdating ng China. Leni Robredo. China flag, Chinese flag. Mas matalino pa si Pacquiao kay ni Leni Robredo. Isipin nyo yan. Kung nandyan si Leni Robredo, guys, yan yung debate na guys, yan ang magpapalubok sa kanya sa pilasi ng lalo ng lulugmuk-lugmuk na siya. Sigurado guys, titigil na siya mangumpanya kung nakasali siya dyan guys. At nagpapasalamat Diyos ko. Lulutang-lutang nga, tingnan mo. Sa mga lahat ng interview, guys. Wala sa sarili lagi si Leni Robredo, guys. Yan pa kaya, debate na yan, guys. See, guys? Meron ng debate, guys, na interview ng isang last na interview kailan ba yun na merong kodigo pa. Binabasa pa ni Leni Robredo yung kanyang sagot. Diba? Halatang halata. So, yan guys, yan ay nagpapatunay na talagang natatakot talaga siya. Hindi niya kaya yan. Hindi niya kayang sagutin yung mga issue na yan na ano guys, ang dami pa. Mas maganda pa ngayon siya si Abella, magaling. Magaling din si Abella Sumagot. Si Gonzalez, magaling din. Si Pacquiao guys, lalo na guys, si Pacquiao guys, sasabihin siguro ni Pacquiao, from the heaven, above the Father, pakikialaman naman, manghingi naman siya ng ano, langit na naman yung ano niya. Si Jesus Christ na naman yung ano niya, yung panlaban. Liliko-liko yan si Pacquiao. Wala guys, hindi yan. Ang meron lang kay Pacquiao, may pera siya. Yun lang na meron kay Pacquiao. At tanyag. Pero sa dito, mas matalino pa si Abella. Mas matalino pa si Gonzalez. Si Di Guzman okay pa sumagot. Pero bagsak si Di Guzman sa akin. Lalo na kay Bongbong Marcos. Dito natin makikita guys ang diferensya sa lahat. Kung sino talaga ang ano. Si Isko. Wala. Si Isko walang panama kay Abella. Mas magaling si Abella. Si Lacson, lalo na. Walang panama. Hindi lang to sikat si Gonzalez at si Abella at saka si Di Guzman dahil wala silang mga pera. Itong si Leni Robredo, Isko, Pacquiao, Lacson, may mga sponsor at saka mayayaman. At sikat. Natural. Sila yung 5, 4 na nasa pinaka-high. Kasi sikat. Pero kung tutuusin guys, mas magaling pa to si Gonzalez, si Abella sa kanila. Ang meron lang ng sa kanila, kaya lalo na si Leni Robredo, meron ng sponsor. Mga Aquino. Si Pacquiao, meron lang siyang pera. Pero wala sa dito. Si Abella, walang pera, pero meron dito. Diba? Dito natin nakikita guys na itong mga talunan na ito ay wala talaga. Dito natin nakikita guys, kung salamat na lang sa inyong mga umatras, nakikita tuloy namin yung capacity ni Gonzalez, ni Abella, ni Di Guzman, pero mas mas gustong gusto ko si Abella. Kahit matanda na, magaling sumagot. Matalino. Merong ponto, merong direksyon kaysa ni Leni Robredo na palikpayot-ikot. Wala namang eksaktong direksyon ang mga sagot. O dito tuloy natin makikita kung sino talagang magaling. O, di ba? Yan pa lang yan pa lang yung interview. Kami nananawagan sa pagdating ng mga debate, interview. Isalin nito si Gonzalez, si Abella, si Di Guzman. Kawawa naman. Magaling naman sila Magaling silang sumagot. Ang meron lang kay Lacson, kay Isko, at kay Pacquiao, at kay Leni, pera. May mga sponsor. Pero, kung ikukumpara yan sila dito, sa mga ito, yung kumandidato, si Gonzalez, Abella, Di Guzman, mas magaling pa silang sumagot. Sa totoo lang. Yes. Kami nanawagan na dapat pag may interview at saka mga debate, pwede bang isalin nyo si Ma'am Clarita Carlos. Yes, yan po ang hinahanap namin, yung mga ganyang klaseng utak ang meron na sa mga panelists, ng mga judge, yung sa nagtatanong. Hindi kagaya ng ibang mga nagtatanong dyan na wala namang kakwenta-kwenta, wala namang kalaman-laman ang mga tanong. Ito, ang kanyang mga tanong ay may laman. Talagang mawiwindang ka pa kung paano sasagutin yung mga tanong niya. Napakagaling, napakatalinong tanong. Yan. Clarita Gonzalez. Carlos pala. Yan, nire-request namin. Ganyan ang laging aming hinahanap na taong magtatanong. Yung talino, may talinong tanong, may laman na tanong. At kami rin nanawagan na sana pagdating ng mga debate o interview na isama nyo naman itong mga si Gonzalez, si Abella, si Di Guzman, para naman marinig namin sa sambayan ng Pilipino ng lahat ng mga pinagsasabi para maikukumpara natin dito kay Leni Robredo, kay Isko, kay Pacquiao, kay Lacson, at kay BBM. Makikita natin yung karakas nila kung saan talaga sila. Diba? Hindi naman, pangit naman kasi yung ginagawa nyo, yun lang, 4 o 5 na kandidato yung top 5. Sama naman itong dalawa, magaling naman to eh. Kung mas maganda nga, lahat yung sasalin nyo. Di ba magaling naman yan sila? Tanyag lang yung iba. Sikat lang sila. Kawawa pala yung kumandidato ka ng pagka-presidente sa Pilipinas kung mayroon ka lang talino. Pero qualified ka naman. Wala ka lang pera. Paano nga pala maging presidente yung walang pera? Buti na lang, magaling, sikat na sikat si Duterte. At talagang ginalingan niyang pagiging mayor sa Davao. Kaya siya nanalo paging presidente. Kung hindi pa tanyag si Presidente Duterte noong panahon ng pagiging mayor niya, hindi rin siya mananalo. At buti na lang, maganda ang nangyari sa Davao dahil kay Duterte. Diba? Diba? Pero sama nyo. Huwag nyo lang yung 5. Comelec. Sama to lahat. Sama nyo naman. Para makikita natin yung sino yung naglumulutang, natutulala, parang lasing, parang adik. Sino yung gano'n. Diba? Sino yung mga ganyang klaseng tao? Pera lang ang meron, tanya kasikat, pero wala namang dito. Dito, wala. Wala dito. Yun, sama niyo sila. At nagpapasalamat kami sa mga pinklawan, si Umatras. Nakikilala tuloy namin si Gonzalez, si Abella at alam mo, hindi namin nakikilala sila kasi hindi naman pinakilala ng kasi wala naman silang capacity magpakilala. Wala silang pambayad sa social media. Wala silang pambayad sa mga ads nila. Wala silang sponsor. Kawawa naman din to. Pero kung tutusin, magaling. Magaling sila. Alright guys, don't forget guys, mag-subscribe kayo guys sa Discarding Malupet by Busnel. Thank you.